So, Josh, super appreciate all the effort that you put into the Lead Champ community, making everything work great. I'll pass the call over to you and let you introduce our guest speakers for today.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I do have a lot of hats. Yeah, it's the Richardson 112. We have green hats, blue hats, we have all kinds of hats, like the hats. One thing I'll mention is if inside of Lead Champ, if you go to the stats or the dashboard page, every week we have like upcoming calls, the recording for last week, and there's probably one or two things that we want you to know about. And I think there's two things right now up there. Let me check that we want you to know about. One thing is that, let's see, is it there? Office hours changing, recording last week, action needed. Yes. New update and action needed. Make sure inside of Lead Champ, go to checkout. One says action needed, one says new update. So you might have known or seen over the last day or so when you click on a contact, everything looks different. Now, I'll just say everything is the same. It just looks different. They've kind of shifted a little bit. The colors are a little bit different. Go watch that video on the new update. I go through everything, what all the buttons are, where they are, what you need to know, what you need to not worry about. It's like a 2 minute video. Go click it, go watch it. The other thing is we just made even more updates to our monthly drafts and payment reminders. And so if you've been on the platform for a long time, like Sheila, like Quentin, you want to make sure that all the clients you've been putting in there along the way are getting the updated payment reminders every single month. It's an email that goes out with all of the pertinent information 2 days before their draft date. So go watch that video. There is some action that you need to take. I go through like you have to put them in a workflow, and there's some like 3 minutes of updates that you have to do. If you do it, then you're good to go. If you don't do it, then it's not going to happen. They're not going to get all of the reminders. One thing that we just added over the course of this last week, if you have ever written a moo policy in the last, I don't know when they did it, couple of weeks, you can now pick the day of the week that the draft is, right? Let's say somebody gets like, I get paid on the Wednesday, and it's always Wednesday. You can pick the third Wednesday of the month, and it'll always be in the third Wednesday of the month, or the fourth Friday, or the second Tuesday, or whatever it is. You can go choose that. Now you can do that in Lead Champ as well, so that matches up. So make sure to go check out that video, and your clients will be taken care of. So anyway, with that said, today we're going to be talking about inbound calls. So I am interested to talk to these folks to see kind of how it's going for them because I remember that I did live transfers some years ago. It was a love-hate relationship. I know some people crushed it on them. It stressed me out, so I'm hoping to learn something. So instead of getting leads and making outbound calls or buying per lead, they're not buying leads, they're buying appointments. And so it's a different concept altogether. So happy to have on Sheila Day and Quentin Kelley. And we're going to talk about inbound calls for a little bit. Both of these guys, I mean, I gotta say, just I probably know them a little bit better than most people here. Sheila was somebody that I did not like when I first saw her name because back in the day when we were in the home, we had a leaderboard every Monday and every Thursday on how many appointments you're going to set. And I didn't know who she was. And she would roll into Monday with like 5 appointments on the board at 8 a.m. And I was like, I don't know how she's doing it. She's doing witchcraft. She's a liar, but she's beating me and I hate it. And then I found out what she would do is she would sneak in on Sunday and set some appointments for Monday. And I was like, of course. And so my goal was to beat Sheila on the leaderboard before I knew who Sheila was. Now I call her a friend. So Sheila, glad that you be here. And then Quentin, I've known for a long time. We worked at our old company together. And, every time I think of just, anybody here, I'd put Dave Seawick in this category. You're an old sales dog. You know what I mean? You've been through it. You've been in the highs, the lows of just being in sales, and we've done it together. And I'm so glad that we get to work together. And over the last several years, Quentin, and Quentin's one of those guys. Like whatever he says, you can take to the bank. So listen up, pay attention, and these guys are going to share some stuff because they've been crushing on inbound calls. Guys, welcome to the call. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for inviting us.
So, right away, what now you guys, I mean, both of you guys have called every lead there is. You've sold on every lead there is. We're not going to go into your background because you've been selling insurance, since insurance was created, both of you. Me too. We're all, but what, uh, you know, I guess one thing is just before we get into inbound specifically, I think some people there's like two ends of the spectrum. There's the person that's like, this is the only lead I will ever call. I will never call another lead. This is it. And if I can't get this lead, I'm not in the business. And then there is the lead roulette. Like every week, we're trying to find the perfect lead. Okay, so let's start with Sheila. Like, what would you say about that, and what would you say about your journey in insurance, specifically about all the different kinds of leads you've done? And
Gotcha.
then Quentin, we'll go to you for the same thing.
Gotcha. So first of all, I've actually only been in insurance for about 5 years, not like you and
Okay.
Quentin, who've been into it a long time.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
So I just started
Scary.
with Family First Life, so I haven't had any other experience, but absolutely love it. And as
Fair
far as
enough.
leads, yes, I have literally dialed every type of lead. I do that because I also have a team, and I want to be able to say I've tried all the different type of leads. They're all
That's smart.
great, they're all bad, right? There's no perfect lead because there's no perfect people, and leads are people. I mean,
Ooh,
it just
that yeah, that's true. And also, like, I asked Jamie Cheerios one time, and I'll ask you guys, like, have you ever done the same lead vendor, same lead source for 2 years in a row? It changes, right? The wave, the tide goes in, tide goes out, stuff changes. So it's like you got to be adaptable. Okay. And I guess what when you first started, like obviously you're in the home, I just told it. What kind of leads, just so everybody knows, like were you calling and what was some of those like ratios like for you?
I mainly well, I did almost exclusively for 2.5 years final expense leads. So final expense, calling, going to the homes, getting the no shows, knocking on doors in between appointments, all the stuff. Um, I typically ran, now not in the beginning, because in the beginning I really sucked. And like my first dial day, I got like 4 appointments. I was like, okay, I'm supposed to get 10 to 15 and I got four. What's this going to be? Right.
Yeah, yeah, I'm
But
failing.
eventually I averaged around 15 appointments per dial day twice a week. So around 30 appointments a week, probably set with 20 and closed anywhere from um, 10 to 10 to 15. My closing rate was pretty good once I was able to get in the house with them. I was writing between I think the most apps I ever wrote in a week at that time on final expense was 17 or 18. But generally, that was kind of the turnaround. And then um, my first experience with chargebacks, I kind of freaked out because I didn't know about them. Nobody told me about them. I always tell my new agents about them now. But so
It's a thing.
that was funny. But knowing what we know now, the general chargeback is 20 to 30%. Mine's never been that high, so I just needed to settle down and just work. And
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Okay. Now, Quentin, I know that you had experience in insurance before we started working together, but you jumped in when we started working together, you jumped right into telesales while the rest of us were driving around.
Yeah. I had worked at a practice company, and even then, we didn't set appointments on the phone. We were sent a stack of cards. These just
Hmm.
came in from the county you picked. You just knocked on the door and said, "Hey, you filled this out, and I'm here to give you what you asked for." And we were told to wipe our feet on the floor and let's go. And if they let you at the kitchen table, you pretty much had a sale, right? So, um, but when COVID hit, none of those seniors wanted me in their house. So that's how But things happen for a
Yeah.
reason, right? That's when we went to I went to the network marketing company where we met, and then you said you wanted to go actually make money and didn't want to work pro bono anymore. So
True
I came
story.
into here and I was like, I'm not, I don't have to worry about the seniors, me being in their house. Let me get into telesales. And it was not easy. And because of that, it wasn't obviously me. So I tried every lead under the sun. Every lead you can think of. You've seen my lead champ. Yeah, that you guys had to make so many workflows, you stopped making workflows. So but yeah, and I think it was at the last conference when they said you switching from lead vendor to lead vendor, trying to get a better close is more about you than it is about the lead. Your
Yeah.
confidence in you and how you can close is what's making you jump and try to find a lead vendor that's going to give you, you know, the golden lead, right? And it's just not going to happen. So yeah, straight into telesales. I've definitely calmed down with how quick I jumped, though. That's for sure.
Well, to what one thing, you know, Nick just said, "Hey, if you want to get, these AI booked appointments, real time, dripped in leads, and that's definitely true." With that said, when you started, I hope you don't mind me saying, like, you didn't have just a bunch of money to just dump into leads. You took a very modest amount of money and got some just cheap age leads and just grinded it out, and was able to scale up, which was most people have a very difficult time making it through that.
Yeah. I mean, it's documented. It's on YouTube, right? It's like $150 that because I was at that other company, that I had to borrow the $150. And I bought some 4-year-old age leads.
I didn't know they were 4 years old.
Oh, they said they weren't. They were. They were old. They were old. I mean, yeah. So it was the leads were 50 cents.
Oh my goodness.
They were 50 cents. And I said, okay, I had 200 leads. Let's go. And found 2 or 3 people who were like, oh, yeah, I've been looking for that. And off to the races from there, right? You get paid. Now you can get some fresher stuff. And then, you learn how to scale. Then you realize you don't know how to scale, and learning cash flow and all those
Yeah.
things. And
All
yeah,
yeah, yeah. Well, it's I say, like, you can be a great salesperson and a bad business person, and that can really hurt you in the business, right? Like,
that
we all like to go, yeah, I can close anybody. Yeah, okay. It's still a business. You got to manage a bunch of stuff, so
That
good.
was the biggest thing.
Yeah,
A couple years, I wanted to be I've always been a great salesman, but I never had to really look at the business portion of it. And that's where you start learning that carriers care about persistency. Carriers care about what's falling off the books. Carriers care about all those things. And I've been smacked around a couple times by a couple carriers, and it was all their fault, right? Never
that's
was it
right.
me.
That's
But
right.
accountability and maintenance, those two things are what resonated with me about a year and a half ago, and where I am today. So
That's good stuff. Good stuff. So that leads, what we're here to talk about, which is inbound leads, I don't know if it's a live transfer. I don't even know how it works. So Sheila, like, could you explain what is that process? So, like, anybody that's never done that, like, just explain what it is. Like, I'm a new agent. I have no idea what you're doing.
Okay. I am loving the inbound calls. Now, inbounds right now are final expense. It's final expense life insurance. They're either looking for final expense because they call it final expense, it's targeted at final expense, or it's life insurance, general life insurance. But it's one or the other. So, pretty much the same thing there. Um, but and I will say, the first time I took first call, I was scared to death. It was like being a newbie again. It's like, oh my gosh, what do I do? The phone's ringing. Well, you dummy, you answer it. That's what you do. And it's such a simple process though, because they have the script. To this day, I literally read the first 4 pages. Obviously, if there's some nuances, the client may say something, that throws that off. But pretty much, I'm following the first few pages of the script, and it's just give you. And when they call with the inbounds, it is a direct inbound. So they're seeing an ad. They're seeing an ad on Facebook, TikTok, Google, TV. They're doing all different kind of ads now. So they'll see the ad, and then they will call in, and they call in direct to you. So you get that call directly. It's not a live transfer call.
Okay.
So when you pick it up, and it's, this is Sheila Day with the Life Insurance Department on a recorded line. Are you interested in life insurance or final expense coverage? And you have 90 seconds at that point to try to qualify them. The goal is not to disqualify. You want to take at least 7 out of 10 calls. You want to have billable calls. One thing that we have learned recently is by taking billable calls, you get more calls. You personally get more calls because you're taking the billable calls versus wasting their money, because those vendors are paying for those ads to be run and placed. So, but you do have 90 seconds to make sure that they realize that it does have a monthly affordable payment, that it's not free, before you're going into those options. If it's free, you have the ability to hang up. I will tell you, most of the time, you've got 90 seconds. 90 seconds is longer than you think it is. And if they say I thought it was free, you know what? Life insurance is not free, but I can help you find the most affordable rates. I work as a broker with about 30 different companies. I'm able to shop those to find the most affordable rates. Would that be okay with you today? Not always. Sometimes they're like, I don't have any money. Well, if you don't have any money, you don't want to waste your time with them anyway. So get off the phone, don't pay for the call. But if they do, I have sold those. I have sold the ones who think it's free, and where other people have dropped them. I have sold people that have called in and said, the previous 2 people I talked to hung up on me. And then I talk to them and I sell them. Does it mean I don't sell everyone, obviously, but that's kind of how the process works. And then I'm in this new process right now. Trey Honeycutt kind of runs the Ringba. There's Ringba and there's Spectra, and I'll let Quentin get into to those because he's doing more Spectra. I've been doing more of a combination of Ringba and Spectra. But on the Ringba side, Trey's doing a pilot program basically, where they are doing somewhat of a live transfer. So they come in and they're what's called pre-qualified inbounds. So they are seeing, hey, do they have a bank account? Do they know that there's a payment? So then you have 30 seconds in that qualification period.
Okay.
Shorten that, but they've already done the pre-work. So you're pretty much talking to those people, and those are pretty much going to be billable calls. So that's kind of that's kind of where I'm going through, but I'm absolutely loving it. I'm seeing the benefit not only for existing seasoned agents, but also for new agents. I'm seeing people come in and take those calls. And my belief system wasn't there in the beginning. My belief system in the beginning was, this is somebody who, after you get some experience under your belt, this is something you could probably do. But why? There's a script that you just read. And then if you're on live dials and you're unmuted, both important pieces, there's no reason why you can't do this as a new person.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And just, and I'll go to you, Quentin, but one last question, Sheila. What is the average you're paying? Is it pay per call? Like, do you load like your wallet and what's that
Okay,
like?
yeah. So you do load your wallet. It is with the Ringba, it's $55 a call.
Okay.
Spectra, 50 to 85, depending on the calls that you're doing. But you just load your wallet, and then they come in, and then you just reload as needed. So depending on how, disciplined or not disciplined you are, if you're not a disciplined person, I would recommend, hey, this is my budget, and you go ahead and load it up, because then you're committing to X number of calls.
Yeah.
So if you need to load in $500 to know, or 550 to know you have 10 calls, right? That would be the way to do it. Uh, I typically just load daily, every other day, just as needed. And I know where my numbers are in terms of what I'm spending and what I'm getting out, as far as return on that as well.
Yeah, that's yeah, 50 to 85 is still not bad. I mean, I remember paying 100 plus back
Yeah.
in the day, and that those can get you get a little nervous on those calls. You're like,
Well, and you made the point earlier, and you're exactly right. We're paying for appointments. So
yeah,
the people who think, oh my gosh, $55 a lead or even $80 a lead. Yeah, it sounds like a lot on the surface, and it did to us too. I mean, Quentin will tell you it did to us too. But when you do the math, it's not. I mean, if you buy a lead pack of 500 or $1,000, how many of those people are you actually talking to? How many calls are you actually presenting on, and how many sales are you getting? You break those numbers down, and these numbers beat it for me every time.
yeah. I mean, yeah, we can just take any one of these like people on the leaderboard, that and look at how many contacts they had, how many appointments they had, guess on show rate.
Mm-hmm.
And then, they're still like, let's see, I'll do it real quick, right? I'll just take one of them, and what I know what the numbers are going to be. It's if they have a good show rate, they're probably spending around 80 dollars ish an appoint like for a showed appointment, not a
Sure.
no showed appointment, a showed appointment,
Right, right.
right? So it all it all
Mhm.
kind of works out. And so whatever your lead source is, whether you're doing outbound or inbound, right? Like, we all kind of go, well, I spent this and I made more, I'm good. And that's fine. But then you start going through the business and sometimes you're like, I'm making sales, but am I making money? And you really have to start taking inventory of what's actually happening. I had to do that this morning, right? I found out my dialer was scamming me and not making dials and saying she was. So I'm like, where's all the appointments? And I'm like, figured it out. Thank goodness to, Lead Champ and all the tracking that we do. But otherwise, you can just kind of go off the rails. So I'll go over to you, Quentin. So now you've done, I mean, I remember a couple years ago you sold tons on live transfers before. And so real quick before we jump in, we mentioned Ringba and Spectra. Now I know anybody that's part of Integrity, they can go maybe to the ILC and get these potentially. Do they have direct websites for people?
Ringba is a campaign that you can do directly in ILC.
Okay.
So if you've ever done a campaign for general life leads, mortgage protection that you normally would have as data, it would be a data section. It gives you now an option for live voice, right? And then that allows you to create a Ringba campaign. Spectra is different. Spectra is outside of the ILC universe right now. I think they're working on something. So you do have to get to set up with them separately. There's a monthly fee to have the service, and then after that, the leads start coming in directly for you.
Okay. And I'm looking it up here. Is that like spectra.com or
No,
something
it's
or
policytech.com, and it's
okay.
Policytek. So it's
TEK.
like, yeah, TEK.
Okay, cool. And we'll post all this in our Discord. The recording will be up,
Yeah.
all the stuff. But anyway. Um, all right. So yeah, I guess for me, what's different? Is there, if anything, different? Because I did live transfers and I felt like
Mhm.
sometimes they would just like push them through and like, not know what was going on. So what's if anything different? And then how is your schedule or your working schedule different from doing what you were doing on outbound?
Okay. So with live transfers, now I've done the expensive ones, like they were $100, right? I've done those that are like, hey, you pay us $500 at the end of the week, you get unlimited calls. And then I've done those that have been like $50, $25 per call, right? With live transfers, and it seems like more and more of them are going to this, the call center is overseas. And when the people are talking to you, you kind of can tell if someone is just pretending like they don't know what you're talking about. And then you can tell if they do not remember, I've had even one vendor say, "Hey, I noticed that you give your NPN out very quickly. Don't give that out until you've actually made the sale." I'm like, "Oh, okay, guess what? We're done, right?" So, now I have done the live
Oh, so are
transfers.
they? Why would they tell you not to do that? Because they're recycling them or what?
I don't know if they're exactly TCPA compliant,
Ah,
if they're just cold calling
ah.
people, telling us that they are. So if I give my code and
I
they
see.
it would come back on me because they're gonna
Yeah.
say Quentin is using da 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 da.
Yeah, be careful out there, guys. Make sure
Yeah, you got
you're
to be careful with who you operate with. You get what you pay for. Now, I have used live transfers that were the bidding process, and it was up to $100. And even at $100, I was doing really well with closing them, and the ROI was still there. Of course, where you put your sales makes a big difference, right? And then, and I'm sure we're going to talk about this, your follow-up process after you've made the sale is hands down makes a huge difference, right? Now, with inbound calling, the great part about it is you have confidence of knowing they saw an ad, they saw something on TV, they saw something, and they are calling in and they call directly to you. And what I like about that is because the hardest part about final expense is getting through the wall.
hmm
The wall of I didn't do it. My grandchild had my phone. He filled it out. Yeah, he put my height and my weight, and he put, that my favorite hobby is crocheting. Yeah, he knows all that. Oh, okay. You got to go through all the lies first before you can get to doing the presentation. Inbound calling, that's kind of pushed to the side because you clicked it. Now I'm talking to you. And number two, what I like about it is, although they still are wary of you, the you're a scammer calling me part
Because
isn't there
they
because
called you.
you called me.
Yeah.
Exactly. You
Yeah.
called me. They saw something on TV, which means it must be real, right? So they see it on TV. They saw something they clicked in. So I've even had people like, well, I don't know if I can trust you. I'm like, well, you called me, ma'am. I didn't call you. And Sheila's heard me say that. I'm like, yeah, you called my office, man. And they're
Yeah.
like, oh, yeah, that's kind of true. So
I
I guess I
love
do.
listening to Quentin. He comes
Yeah,
up with some good
Quentin
stuff.
doesn't take any crap from
He
anybody.
comes up with some great stuff.
Uh, I love the hobby thing too. I remember Nick when we first started, he got a lead and the hobby was wolves. Just I don't
yeah,
know.
it's
I
just
don't
crazy
know what
stuff
that
on there.
means, but
Yeah.
yeah,
What's your
maybe
favorite
they had a
hobby?
bunch of
Red.
wolf.
Red?
Yeah,
Okay.
red.
Okay, that's great.
Um anyway, okay. So Sheila, I mean, we have the script, we'll post it, but um, just walk us through what's the first 30, 60 seconds like on, I mean, you don't have to go through the script, but like, what are you trying to open with? How is that different? Because I mean, like usually I'm like, hey, I'm calling you for our appointment, and then we get into it, but they're calling you. Are they just a lot of times they're like, hey, I'm looking for a quote. Like what just getting up off the ground, what does that sound like?
As far as things that they may say as I'm
Yeah,
introducing her.
they pick up the phone and like what's the first thing you say and how do you get it started?
Yeah, so I mean, I do start with the first line. Obviously, this is a life insurance department on a recorded line. Are you interested in life insurance or final expense coverage? And they'll say, oh, final expense coverage. Sometimes they'll say, I saw where I can get 25,000 or I can get 40,000. Sometimes they'll even say, I saw where the government's giving, X number. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. You can definitely get up to 25, 40, whatever they say. And that'll be based on your age, health, and habits. I'll be able to find you the most affordable rates. I thought it was free. Well, yeah, life insurance is not actually free. We do have to pay for it, but it is based on your age, health, and habits. And I can definitely help you find those most affordable rates. Will that be okay with you today? So that's kind of the beginning, is just getting through those kind of objections. Like Quentin said, there's not the, although I will tell, if I can have a moment to tell my really funny story. They call you, right? They called me. What did I say, Quentin, that I was called? Vulture. Okay, so the lady calls me, and I answer the phone, say my first line, "You vultures need to quit calling me." You called me. Well, you need to stop calling all my numbers. Click. I was like, I received vulture status on my phone. That was great. She called me a vulture and hung up on me. So you get that. You do still get some pushbacks and some funny stories, but Quentin and I and the others on the dial team, we just laugh it off and keep going. But that's pretty much it. And then because it is like an appointment, then you're just right into it. I mean, you're talking about verifying you want to verify their state and their age. That's the two important things. The script actually says state and date of birth. To be honest, I say state and age because I don't want to do the math.
Right. Yeah, just make it simple.
You got 90 seconds, so I don't want to do the math. I just want to be like, hey, what's your state? What's your age? And, I've got 41 states, so it goes by phone number, and that's why the state sometimes is off, because it's going by phone number prefix.
Yeah.
So
do you put in what states you want, or
you do put in what states you want in both Spectra and Ringba. You can choose your states. So I think I have probably 37 of my states, 37, 38 states in each of my campaigns. So pretty much I can help everybody. And we even talked, Trey was talking yesterday on the Ringba training about, if you don't have the state, you can, if you want to, you can't, that gives you a reason to decline. But if you want to, you can continue. If it becomes something, then go get that license before you fully submit and that application. So there are some ways around that too. Because obviously if you get the sale, you can more than cover your cost of your license. And if you don't get the sale, then there was no point anyway. So, but then you're just basically right into the state and the age, their height and their weight, medical. They give you a very extensive list of medical in the script, so that script, you guys, even if you're not doing the inbounds, I would highly recommend looking at that script and looking at that health section, because you can literally save yourself so much time in terms of the applications. There's probably a handful, maybe, Quentin, of questions that you might have to additionally ask in the application that weren't already covered in this. I mean, it goes lung disease, asthma, COPD, heart attack, stroke, blood clot, cancer, artery disease, congestive heart failure, cardiomyopathy, everything. So you're usually tired of answering questions.
Well, and I'll kind of go to Quentin on this, and I don't know what your style is like right now, because I know sometimes we change up how we're doing things a little bit, but the last time I heard you, Quentin, I'm like, he sounds so if I was not in the insurance industry, I would just think I just called into the doctor's office and this is just what we have to do. And you're just very you read the questions. Imagine that you actually read the questions.
Very matter of fact.
But it's oh yeah, there is no questioning this. This is just what I have to do. And I also think where new people, at this point, guys like Jamie, myself, other people have been around and doing this for a while. You got the questions down, but it's also sometimes you can get a little lazy and you're like, oh, this sounds good. And then you forgot to ask, they said they're on one depression med and you didn't ask what it was. And then you find out it's for schizophrenia or something like that. So asking the questions is good, especially if you're a new person, you don't know which questions to ask. Yeah. And then you still are a young, naive mind and you believe them when they say they're not taking anything.
Yeah. One of the things that you were discussing is in the beginning, how do you get off on the road? I both me and Sheila both discussed, I don't go into it as disqualifying them so I can hang up as quick as possible. I give them 3 chances. If I ask them a question and they're like, hey, just get to the quote, I say in my head, that's 1.
Yeah.
Okay. If I'm going through it, I'm like, hey, I need your state and date of birth. Well, why do you need all that information? That's two.
Yeah.
Okay. And then if that, I'm like, hey, look, so I'm going to make sure we ask you some questions to see if you're eligible. I thought this was okay. Look, I can help you, but I have a process that I have to go through.
Yep.
If you're not a process person, I understand. I'm not your agent, but we need to know this now. And
I
then they're like,
mean,
it sounds rude, but in a minute and 30 seconds, I I literally in my head is like there's a line of 50 people waiting to talk to me, which
good.
gives because inbound gives me a different power than outbound because you were asking
Mhm.
about that. Outbound, when I get somebody on the phone, I don't know when my next pickup is going to be.
Yeah.
So and I had this problem in the beginning, and Sheila see me kind of pulling out of it is I'd spend 20 minutes trying to close them. I would try to, if they were rude with me in the beginning, how do I overcome that and get them on my side? I did all these different things because I don't know the next call I'm going to get.
Yeah.
Now I'm more like, hey, I'm going to help you get past the velvet rope, but I ain't pulling you over, and nor will you push me over it.
Yeah.
So let's do this.
I mean, that's good. I was talking to an agent this week, and like I'm an appointment guy, super busy, multiple things going on. So like I need to know what my schedule is going to be so I can plan around it. And you get these people that are like, I'll call you, and all kinds of weird stuff. And I'm like, no, like I have a process. If you can fit into that, awesome. If you're not, like I'm not gonna jump through all these hoops just to help you, and you're the one that filled out the lead. So I had this guy, he's like, well, I'll just call you. And I didn't even think about it. The agent was like, yeah, they told me what I said, and they're like, yeah, you were so calm, and you're just like, well, okay, yeah, you can call me. Do you want me to be available when you call? It's like, well, yeah. Like, okay, well, let me pull up my calendar so I can, we can pick a time so I know I can be
Right.
available. And you pick up that I being good at sales is like being able to maintain an attitude and a posture that you don't need the sale and you don't care about the commission. And if you can do those two things consistently, like you can make a lot of sales, which is weird because obviously we want the sale, we want the commission. Um, so Quentin, some of the economics, right? Like you don't have to necessarily get into your profit and loss or anything like that, but like
Mhm.
obviously, you said, hey, there's one thing making a sale, there's a whole nother thing like running the business and the financials of that. So I know like when I started, it was very simple. It was like you buy 100 leads on Monday and 100 leads on Thursday, or was that what it was? 100 Monday, 100 Thursday, and that was it. And you spent this much, and it was just very just cut and dry. But now there's all these different ways you can be on a management, you can buy per lead, you can do inbound. And so, how do you think about your finances throughout the week based on this inbound model of, hey, I need to fill up my wallet? And what's your method? Sheila says, hey, every couple of days, she knows her numbers. She's very organized, right? This is a you and me conversation. We'll let the organized people just sit over
Yeah.
there for a minute. How do you think about that?
So, in the very beginning, it was more of, hey, I only want to take this many billables per day, and then the rest of the day I'm going to do outbounds, right? So if I know I need three billables a day, it's going to be this much money that I'm going to put in, right? One thing I like about the Spectra platform is that it actually has a reporting section. So it tells me how many calls did I get, how many did I actually take. It tells me how much money I've actually spent during whatever period of time. And then it tells me uh, um, how much per policy, how much am I making per as far as AP. And then it also tells me what's my return on investment. It also tells me how much am I spending per lead to get to a sale. So all those things are in there. Numbers for me, I've always been like, if I sell enough, the numbers will work. I just actually recently went to a training and it's the exact opposite. If you know the numbers, the sales will work, right?
Mm,
So by knowing my numbers and I know how much, In fact, me and the boss, aka my wife, we actually sit down because I'm a very emotional person. Josh, you might not know this. I'm a very emotional person. She's a very numbers person. So we actually have once a week we go over numbers and things like that. Um, and we pulled out the Spectra numbers over the last 3 months, and it said, "Hey, if you spend this, this is your closing ratio. You will make this." And I'm like, "Oh,
Do you
okay."
mind sharing the closing ratio? Just
Yeah, absolutely. So when I went to, actually, I don't mind. I'll pull it up real quick.
and while you're looking that up, I say it takes a real man to be in, 1099 sales and then go over your numbers with your wife.
Yeah,
Because it's like, I've been on both sides of the coin there where you're like, oh man, we didn't, make enough money or whatever. Yeah, I was working hard, babe. Yeah, just, it's all gonna come through. And it's like, okay,
right, exactly.
yeah.
So
You know what that conversation's
yeah,
like.
so the numbers by actually knowing numbers, it's actually helped her with her stress level of what's going on, right? Having a
Yeah.
business meeting every week. Getting into numbers has never been my thing, right? So over since February of 2026 to now, I've taken 249 calls. I've only taken 140 of them as billable, so that's about 56%, right?
Hmm.
Then I've submitted 45 apps, submitted 57,503 in premium. That's a 32% closing ratio on a 9,225 spend. So I'm
Okay,
getting about a six times
dude.
numbers,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
So
that's where
when we
mine
looked
are
at
too.
it last week,
Oh, really?
About six
yeah,
X. Yeah.
Okay.
yeah. So when we looked at it last week, it was 8,500. So my wife literally looked at me. She goes, "Okay, so you spent 8,500 and you made 50, at the time it was 53,000." And I said, "Yeah." She goes, "So that means if you spent 8,000, sat in the seat and made the same amount of calls, we could make 53,000 in a month." I'm like, and I'm like, "Well, kinda." She goes, "No, it's not kinda.
Not kind of. That's the numbers.
That's the numbers." She goes, "If you don't
Let's
get
go,
any
Quentin.
better, you don't get any better and you spent the same amount of money, these are your numbers." And I was like, holy crap. And so now we actually put before I was doing like 250 a day
Mhm.
and hoping to get through it, right? And instead, now I'm like, okay, I'm dropping this much on Monday. Though that money needs to be gone by mid Wednesday. Then mid Wednesday, I'm dropping a certain amount of money. That money needs to be gone by Friday.
Yeah.
Now, going into that mindset, but from her knowing the numbers, because before she would just see leads going out, money going out, and not knowing why. Now she's asking me, how much more money do you have left? And I'm like, there's about 225 this morning. She goes, well, you got to get that done by this time so that you can load again.
Chop
So
chop.
she's excited
When
about the loading, so it's different.
when Quentin says my wife, what he means is my sales manager.
My the worst sales manager I've ever had in my life. So, yeah.
She's
So
my kind of person.
Yeah.
sales, business manager, all that kind of stuff. So, I'm giving my numbers, and that's not with me being 100% closing every single week. Sometimes I get kicked in the teeth and it's horrible. But now that I know my numbers, I'm like, okay, that's fine. I can let a client, if they're acting wrong, go. If they want to think about it, go. And I'll talk about that later about how Lead Champ pretty much, if I didn't have it, there's no way I would even think about doing outbound calls.
Talk about that.
I mean inbound calls.
Yeah, so it kind of, as we kind of hit the tail end here, last two things, Sheila, I'll go to you is number one, with any leads, right? Like you can have a good streak, you can be on a hot streak where everybody
Yep.
buys, you can be on those streaks where it seems like no one's going to buy, especially as you watch that wallet go down. How do you deal with it? Like what mental talking do you do, or how do you think about it when you put it in the wallet and it's not panning out, or has that happened?
Oh, absolutely. Yesterday, as an example. Now, unlike Quentin, I'm not the emotional person. I don't ride the roller coaster. I'm like, just money, the facts, the word, and he knows it. Like we talk about this. I just the facts are the facts. I know it's going to go up and down. I can have days and several days in a row. I might have a 10x return on investment for going for a while. And then all of a sudden I have a day like yesterday. I paid for 19 billable calls to sell one and still 2x my money.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, is it a great return that day? No. But does it mess up the overall average? No. And I do take, as far as numbers, I do same return on investment, about 6x, about the same ad spend, it sounds like, because I just looked at my March ad spend, and my March ad spend was just over 8. So and he started towards the end of February. So yeah, so about the same ad spend. I take more billable calls. And Quentin has talked to me about that, both good and bad. Sometimes it's like, Sheila, you don't have to take all of them. And sometimes it's like, I wouldn't have taken that one, and there you sold it,
Yeah.
So both good and bad.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing. It's like when it's a tricky thing, and you have to know yourself. You have to know, like, for the person, like what you just said is, I double down because I know my numbers, I know what's going to happen. But then there's the other person that hears you say that and go, I'm going to double down too. But really, they're like emotional and maybe not that disciplined. They're still building that discipline muscle, which is a muscle.
Right.
And they have a bad call, and then they just carry that into the next call, and it's just like a downward domino effect. And it's like, maybe take a walk around the block and come back,
And I think that's why, and both Quentin and I being on here, being on the dial team daily together, we balance each other a lot, and we're able to work with each other's teams and with the different temperaments and things like that, because we do look at things differently, although we do things very similarly.
Yeah, absolutely. And so last thing for both of you guys is, obviously the retention. These are inbound calls. So you're not putting them in a campaign, a text strip. They're not hitting AI, right? So how does Lead Champ come in? Obviously, once you sell it, what are you seeing going on that it's important, or how are you interacting, using Lead Champ to interact with these folks?
I'm gonna let Quentin go first because this is very important for him. He has literally said over and over again, I wouldn't do this without Lead Champ. So I'm gonna let him go first, and I'll fill in any gaps.
Yeah, so live transfers I did before. I sold and sold and sold and sold and sold, and a majority of them fell off the books. And I thought it was just because final expense is horrible. No, it's because even though you sell it, they still think you're a scammer, until they get a policy, right? Until they get something that verifies that you are who you say you are, that you're going to do what you said you were going to do, right? So when I'm done, I'm like, hey, this is what's going to happen next. You're going to get a text message from me. It's going to have your policy number. It's going to have your payment date. I'm going to remind you before your first payment date when it's coming out. It's going to have the name of your company on there. What's we call it? And I'm going to send it by text and by email. And the second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to send you a second email, and it's going to have the name of your company, gives you some the A+ ratings, and give you some more research about them and the product you got. Let's say it's Living Promise, so that you have a whole brochure on that as well. Okay, great. And then I'm going to follow up with Legacy Safeguard. So now they're getting all these emails and texts. The biggest difference I see is from before, when I was selling live transfers, I have had more interaction with inbound calls than any lead source I ever had. They will send me a text. Thank you for sending all this. I really appreciate it. Hey, Quentin, yeah, I got my policy. No, I didn't get my policy yet, Quentin. And then I could jump on it and find out what's going on.
Mhm.
If I don't sell the person and I gave them a quote, they go in to think about it. I sold 2 policies from the think about it saying, hey, did you ever look at those numbers? Did anything change? And then they're like, oh, you know what, Quentin, just call me back. Let's go ahead and do this. I sold 2 of those because after I was done, I got the quotes, put them into think about it. Um, so if they don't close, but I have enough, like the phone number, and I've got their name and the state, I can still put them in a final expense workflow. They don't remember who you were anyway, right? So I still put them in the final expense workflow. So selling is great, retaining is better, right?
Mhm.
So
Amen to
last
that.
year I was so focused on retention that I actually lowered the amount of sales I did because I was so worried about it. Now with inbound calls, I'm able to get a lot more clients, put them into something, and then have them being dripped on consistently. And those clients have been very good to me as far as back and forth all the time. So yeah,
Love that.
gotta have lead. You gotta have lead champ for that for sure.
Love that. Love that. Thanks, Quentin. Anything that you would add, Sheila?
You know what? I really don't think so. I mean, I just put them in there. I loved your idea of doing the workflow for those that we don't sell because I have not been doing that. So good. Thank you for that. But no, I mean, I put them in there, and he's right. I'm getting the same responses. We both were kind of like, okay, let's see what happens on the first and the third of the month, right? Because that's when these payments start coming out. And yeah, did I have a couple? But actually, they ended up paying later. Whatever. But
Okay.
it's the retention piece of it and being able to follow up with them. And to his point, no, I didn't get my policy yet. Oh, you know what? That's because we had yours emailed. Check your email. It is in your email because it says, it's on your way. It's on its way.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Oh,
I like to,
yeah.
yeah, I've been doing a lot of annual reviews and I'll download the application and I'll drop it into what happened button or, do a loom or if it's an illustration, drop it in there. And I want to save it, but it's also in there. Like I had a lady the other day, she told me why she wanted it. We did everything exactly like this is why I want it. This is the coverage I want. Da, 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 da. And then she came back to me like a couple days later when it was like, hey, did you get your policy? And she's like saying all kinds of crazy stuff. And I was like, hey, go back above. This is what you
Here's where
said.
we
She's like,
were.
oh yeah, that's right. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, documenting all those things for yourself and for the client. That's why we had Lead Champ. So guys, I really appreciate you being on. And for everybody out there, right? If you're on leadchampliveDials.com, if you want to check in, hang out with these guys and the other people that are on there, you're never too good to learn something from somebody else. I can't tell you how much I've learned from both these guys. They'll say something in a way I'm like, oh man, I haven't thought of that. If you want to try out, I think policytech.com, tech with a K. We'll put all this stuff in the Discord. We'll put the script Sheila was so gracious to share in Discord, and then when the recording comes out, we'll upload that in all the spots. So just stay tuned. We have the dashboard, the billboard I call it, inside of Lead Champ. We have the Discord, we have the YouTube channel, and we'll email it to you. Nick will drive it to your house. You will get all of the information. So, guys, thanks so much being on.